Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Dan Blanchard with the Traveling Time with Dan show, where we mix travel with history, with leadership, and of course with me, Dan Blanchard. Today I'm in Hunterdon County Courthouse in Flemington, New Jersey. This is where the trial of the century took place with Charles Lindbergh. If you're not familiar with the story, I think it was 1927, Charles Lindbergh became the first person to solo fly across the Atlantic Ocean, making him super famous, right? One of the most famous people in the world. He was an icon, right? And his wife, Morrow Lindbergh, she became super famous too. And the two of them became the most famous couple in the United States, maybe the world. They were traveling all over the world with their fame and money and power and all that stuff, right? And they had a baby who was Charles Jr. I don't know if he was super famous at the time, but probably, and he's going to become even more famous, but for a very, very sad thing, okay? So what's going to happen is that somebody is going to put a two-story wooden, put together a shop hazardly, a wooden ladder up against the second-story window of Charles Jr., the baby, and they're going to steal him right out of the nursery, and they're going to ask for $50,000 in ransom, right? It's going to become a media circus. Media from all over the country, probably a few from around the world, going to show up at the Charles Lindbergh house. And then all those media people being everywhere is going to contaminate the crime scene. Yes, it is making it very hard to find who the kidnapper is, right? And the kidnapper is going to write 13 ransom notes with a really weird signature. The signature kind of looks a little bit like a Venn diagram with a little red dot or square or something like that. A couple like little hole punches or something like that. It's a really weird signature. But each one of them has this weird signature in the 13 ransom notes saying, hey, we want $50,000 and give it to us, not in big bills, but small bills. We want the $10 bills or gold notes. We want the gold notes. It's what we want. So what's going to happen is the FBI, the police, the law enforcement authorities, they're going to track those serial numbers of those $10 gold notes, and it's going to take a long time. Look at maybe 2 years before somebody starts spending them. But in the upper side of New York, upper New York, upper Manhattan, I believe, there's going to be a gas station where some guys will be coming in on a regular basis, paying for his gas and other things in those $10 notes with those serial notes. So they're going to track this guy, right? Going to track this guy there. The Lindberghs paid the ransom, and they never got the baby back, right? How crazy is that, right? They paid the ransom, they don't get the baby back, right? And then 2 years later, you got these the $10 bills and gold notes are being spent in the up in New York there in upper Manhattan, right? And they're gonna find this guy. They're gonna trace the money trail to Bruno Richard Hauptmann, and they're gonna have handwriting experts come in, and they're gonna say yes, that's multiple handwriting experts going to say yes, that's his handwriting for the ransom notes, right? The money, a whole bunch of money was found in his garage. They're going to have forensic experts in wood come in, and they're going to say yes, this is the wood from the ladder, right? And they're going to say part of this ladder came from a 16-inch plank in his attic, where they traced it to the attic. So the money trail's there, everything's there. Quick little side note, you probably wonder what was up with the wood. When he was taking the baby out of the window, started climbing down the ladder fell backwards. Right? And I think some of the ladder broke off and this and that. He probably just ran. What I wonder is, did Charles Jr., the baby, get hurt on that fall? I don't know, but here's the deal. They never got the baby back. And several months later, the baby's going to be accidentally found dead in the woods a couple miles from the Lindbergh's house. Extremely sad. Extremely sad. All right? So this guy, Richard Bruno Hauptmann, his lawyer, is going to say, hold on a second. My guy didn't do it. Right? He's a scapegoat. Corrupt cops planted evidence. They're going to say all this. There's going to be a media frenzy. Reporters from all over the world are going to come to this case, right? This court case, and it's going to be the trial of the century. Right? And Richard Hauptmann is going to claim, and him and his lawyer are going to claim, that he can't get a fair trial here, right? That he should not be prosecuted, should be found innocent, right? All that stuff. He can't get a fair trial here. And forensic evidence, what the heck is that? Forensic evidence? What, for a wooden ladder? That's crazy. But this is the first time it's going to be used. Forensic evidence is going to be used. And they don't think it's crazy. They're going to say, yeah, this is the wood from the ladder. And you throw in, again, the money trail, right? You throw in the handwriting. And this trial of the century, the judges are going to say, he's guilty. He's going to be found guilty with the judges, the jury, whatever. They're going to find guilty. And this is going to change law enforcement, all right? This is going to become what's called the Lindbergh Law, where in certain cases of kidnapping, it becomes a federal crime. And the FBI gets involved. And the FBI developed some of their practices from this case of the trial of the century, right? With the Lindbergh kidnapping and sadly murder of their little baby, all right? So if you've never heard of this case, by now you're probably thinking it's fascinating, right? And it would definitely be worth your time to come down to New Jersey and see where this took place. This is a gorgeous building over here. Definitely check it out. I've already given you a little bit of the history of it. So what is the leadership of this? Well, the leadership is this. You ready? Responding to adversity with strength. All right, Charles Lindbergh showed an incredible amount of strength during some of the worst moments that can happen to a person, right? So you got to remember leadership, right? Leadership, it's not measured by how well you act when everything's going well. Anybody could do well when things are well, right? Leadership and your character is measured by how you respond when life is difficult, how you do when life is terrible, when life throws terrible things at you. How do you behave? How do you respond? How do you act, right? What kind of leader are you during those moments? Because that's what really defines your leadership and your character, how you respond during the worst moments. Remember, anybody can do good when things are good. What do you do when things aren't good? It's a good question. All right, everybody, thank you for spending time with me today on the Travel in Time with Dan show here at the courthouse at the trial of the century, the Lindbergh kidnapping, and very, very sadly, the murder of the baby. I'm gonna be back real soon to mix, of course, some more travel with history and leadership, and of course me, Dan Blanchard, the next Travel in Time with Dan show. Until then, I'll see you later.